everyone. So this is Reading by Ree. I'm currently reading the book The Power of Six by Pittacus Lore. Be picking up where I left off from the last video. We will be starting on chapter 21. We are more than halfway done with this book, so of course we're about to start hitting some crazy action. I know we've had some little snippets here and there throughout, but it's about to go down. So I hope you guys are getting excited just as much as I am. I hope you guys are still liking these videos. If you are, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can continue watching more of the videos that I post on a regular basis. And leave me a comment below and let me know how you're liking the videos. Sorry for not posting anything yesterday. Yesterday I kind of had one of my down moments where I just really didn't feel like doing anything. I was kind of like in bed all day. So I do apologize. I hope you guys will forgive me. But I'm going to record today and post today. So hopefully that makes up for it. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to get started. Chapter 21. While we drive, I try a few more times to regain the signal with the globes, but every time I get the solar system up and running, they just orbit like normal. It's almost midnight and I'm about to rifle through the other stones and objects in my chest, but it's then I see the scattered lights of a town on the horizon. A sign passes on my right just like it did a few months ago when Henry was behind the wheel. Welcome to Paradise, Ohio, population 5,243. Welcome home, Sam whispers. I press my forehead against the window and recognize a dilapidated barn, an old sign for apples, a green pickup still for sale. A warm feeling comes over my entire body. Of all the places I've ever lived, Paradise has been my favorite. It's where I made my first best friend. It's where I developed my first legacy. It's where I fell in love. But Paradise was also where I met my first Mogadorians, where I had my first real battle and felt real pain. It's the place where Henry died. Bernie Kosar jumps onto the seat next to me, and his tail wags at an amazing rate. He shoves his nose through the small crack in his window, and he sniffs furiously at this familiar air. As we take the first side road on the left and make several more turns, backtracking here and there, making sure we're not being followed, finding the best and least conspicuous place to leave the SUV, we go over the plan once more. After we get the transmitter, we go right back to the car and we leave Paradise immediately, Six says. Right? Right, I say. We don't make contact with anyone else. We just go. We leave. I know she's referring to Sarah, and I bite my lip. Finally, after all these weeks on the run, I'm back in Paradise, and I'm told I can't see Sarah. Got it, John? We leave. Right away. Lay off already. I know what you're getting at. Sorry. Sam parks the SUV on a dark street under a maple tree 2 miles from his house. My shoes drop to the asphalt. My lungs take their first real breath of Paradise air, and I instantly want to go back to how it was. Back to Halloween. Back to coming home to Henry. Back to sitting on my couch next to Sarah. We don't take any chances of losing my chest in an unguarded car, so Six opens the back door and lugs it onto her shoulder. Once comfortable, she makes herself invisible. Wait, I say. I want something out of there first. Six? Six reappears, and I open the chest and retrieve the dagger, slipping it into the back pocket of my jeans. Okay, now I'm ready. Bernie Kosar, buddy, are you ready? Bernie Kosar transforms into a small brown owl, and he flaps his way onto a low branch of the maple tree. Let's do this already. Six picks up my chest and disappears again. Then we run. With Sam trailing at a good pace, I jump a fence and pick up speed on the edge of the nearest field. After a half mile, I'm veering into the forest, loving the way the branches break off my chest and arms, how the tall patches of grass whip my jeans. I look over my shoulder often, and Sam is never farther than 40 yards behind me, jumping over logs, sliding under branches. There's a noise beside me, but before I can reach for my dagger, Six whispers that it's just her. I see a swatch of grass part down the middle, and I follow. Luckily, Sam lives on the outskirts of Paradise with large yards separating each neighbor. I stop just inside the lip of the forest when his house comes into view. It's a small, modest house with white aluminum siding and black shingles. a thin chimney on its right side, a tall wooden fence enclosing the backyard. Six materializes and sets down my chest. "That it?" she asks. "That's it." 30 seconds later, Bernie Kosar lands on my shoulder. 4 minutes go by until Sam lumbers through a line of brush and stands next to us, out of breath, his palms planted firmly on his thighs. He looks up at his house in the distance. "How are you feeling?" I ask. "Like a fugitive, like a bad son. Think about how proud your dad would be if we pull this off," I say. Six turns herself invisible to run reconnaissance, checking the shadows of the nearby houses, the back seats of every car on the street. She returns and says everything looks okay, but there are some motion sensor lights on the house on the right. Bernie Kosar flies away, perching himself on the highest point of the roof. Six grabs Sam's hand, and they turn invisible. I tuck the chest under my arm and quietly follow them to the back fence. They reappear, and Six goes over first, then Sam. I toss the chest over and climb quickly after. We duck behind an overgrown shrub, and I survey the backyard and its trees, high grass, a big tree stump, a rusty swing set, and an antique wheelbarrow on its side. There's a back door on the left side of the house, and 2 dark windows on the right. "There it is," Sam whispers, pointing. What I first thought was a tree stump peeking out of the middle of the yard is actually, upon closer inspection, a wide stone cylinder. Squinting, I see a triangular object sticking up off its top. "We'll be right back," Six whispers to Sam. My hand in Six's, I turn invisible and say, "Okay, Eagle Good, guard that chest as if my life depends on it, because it does." Six and I carefully walk through the high grass towards the well, and then kneel in front of it. Numbers border the circumference of the sundial. 1 through 12 on the left side, and another 1 through 12 on the right, 0 at the top. And the numbers are surrounded by a series of lines. I'm about to grip the middle triangle and twist randomly when I hear Six gasp. "What?" I whisper, raising my eyes to the dark back windows. "In the middle. Look, the symbols." I study the sundial again, and my breath is caught in my throat. They're faint and easy to overlook, but in the middle of the circle are 9 shallow Loric symbols. I recognize the numbers 1 through 3 because they match the scars on my ankle, but the others are new to me. "What's Sam's birthday again?" I ask. "January 4th, 1995. The triangle clicks like a lock as I turn it right to the Loric number 1. I turn it left, swallowing hard as I aim it at what must be number 4, my number. Then I rotate the triangle to 1, 9, back around to 9 again, and 5. Nothing happens for a few seconds, and then the sundial begins to hiss and smoke. Six and I step back and watch as the stone lid of the well flips back and opens with a loud echoing crack. When the smoke clears, I see a ladder inside. Sam is jumping up and down near the fence, one hand over his mouth, the other raised in a fist. One of the dark windows of the house turns yellow. Bernie Kosar lets out 2 long whoos from the roof. Before I can think, Six yanks me forward, and soon I'm invisible and descending the ladder inside the well. Six follows, pulling the lid almost closed above her. I illuminate my palms and see we're 20 feet from a cement floor. "What about Sam?" I whisper. "He'll be fine. Bernie Kosar's up there." We reach the floor and find ourselves in a short hallway that curves to the left. The air is musty. I shine my palms back and forth as we walk through the curve, and when the hallway straightens again, we see there's a room ahead with a cluttered desk and hundreds of papers pinned to the wall. I'm about to run inside, but that's when my lights catch a long, white object in the doorway. "Is that—" Six trails off. I'm stuck in my tracks. It's an enormous bone. Six pushes me forward, and I pull the dagger from my back pocket. "Ladies first?" I offer. "Not this time." With a running start, I jump over the bone and immediately light up the room with my hands. A yell escapes my mouth as I take in the skeleton sitting against the wall. Six jumps inside, and when she sees it, she stumbles backwards into the desk. The skeleton is over 8 feet tall, with giant feet and hands. Thick blonde hair falls from the top of its skull and reaches past its wide shoulder blades. Around its neck hangs a blue pendant similar to mine. "That's not Sam's dad," Six says. "Definitely not." "Then who is it?" I step forward and examine the pendant. The blue laurelite stone is slightly larger than mine, but everything else is the same. I stare at it and feel an overwhelming connection to whoever this was. I'm not sure, but I think he was a friend. I reach over his head and retrieve the pendant, handing it to Six. We move to the desk. I don't know where to start. A heavy layer of dust covers stacks of papers and writing utensils. The writing on the papers pinned to the wall above the desk is in every language but English. I recognize a few Lorik numbers, but nothing else. A white electronic tablet sits on a dilapidated wooden chair, and I pick it up and press my fingers over its black screen. Nothing happens. Six opens the top drawer to find more papers, and as she grabs the second drawer's handle, an explosion above ground knocks us off our feet. A long crack travels along the room's ceiling, and then the concrete buckles. Chunks fall all around us. "Run!" I yell. With the pendant around her neck, Six tears a dozen papers from the wall, and I stuff the white tablet in the back of my waistband. We scramble up the ladder and peek out the sliver of space between the well and the sundial. Dozens of Mogs, smoldering fires. Bernie Kosar has transformed himself into a tiger with the curling horns of a ram. A Mog's arm is in his teeth. Sam is no longer at the fence, and neither is my chest. I'm about to burst out of the well when Six launches herself past me in a tornado of clouds. The sundial lid whips backwards, and she rips through a hurdle of 5 Mogs, sending them across the yard. I pull myself out of the well and close it as she picks up a gleaming Mog sword, turning invisible. I use my telekinesis to toss 3 armed Mogs standing near the well against the house. They explode into thick ash, and when I turn, I see a shirtless man frozen in the back door with a shotgun in his hands. Behind him stands Sam's frightened mom in a nightgown. Six materializes next to 2 Mogs running at me with glowing cannons, and she swings the sword through both their necks. Then she uses her telekinesis to throw the wheelbarrow at another, turning him into a pile of ash. I toss 2 Mogs against another, and Six impales all 3 in one quick motion. Bernie Kosar leaps into the middle of the yard and digs his teeth into a few Mogs struggling to their feet. "Where's Sam?" I yell. "Here!" I twist to see Sam lying on his stomach under a charred shrub. Blood runs down his scalp. "Sam!" His mom yells from the doorway. He struggles to his knees. "Mom!" His mom yells again, but a Mog reaches down and pulls Sam up by his shirt. I concentrate and uproot the rusty swing set, but before one of its metal poles can spear the Mog in the chest, he tosses Sam over the fence. With intensity I've never seen in her before, Six slices through the remaining Mogs. She's covered in ash when she jumps over the fence after Sam. I leap onto Bernie Kosar and we follow. Sam is on his back in the neighbor's yard. Motion sensor lights flood over him. I jump off Bernie Kosar and pick him up. "Sam, are you okay? Where's my chest?" He opens his eyes halfway. "They got it. I'm sorry, John." "There!" Six points to several Mogs running through a field towards the forest. I set Sam on Bernie Kosar's back, but he pushes himself off. "I'm okay, I swear." From the other side of the fence, Sam's mom yells, "Sam! I'll be back, Mom, I love you!" And then he's the first to run towards the Mogs. Six and I catch up easily, but she veers right to plunge her sword into an approaching Mog. 4 more are 30 yards ahead of her, and with the large pendant bouncing around her neck, she charges, with Bernie Kosar at her heels. Sam and I enter the muddy field, and the 2 Mogs cut off our path. Over my shoulder, I see 2 more separating and marching in our direction at strategic angles. The others have entered the forest at 2 different sections, and I can't see who has the chest. I pull the dagger out of my back pocket. The handle wraps around my hand. I run ahead, and the 2 Mogs in front of me run too, their swords bouncing and cutting into the empty field behind them. When we're less than 5 yards apart, I leap with my dagger above my head. As I start to fall, a huge tree zips underneath me, ramming both Mogs and killing them. 6. As I hit the ground again, I turn to see her running towards Sam and the 2 Mogs who circle him. The one on Sam's left tackles him around the waist. 6 tears the Mog off and throws him far into the field, where he immediately gets back on his feet and charges. I sneak up behind the other Mog and hammer my dagger into the back of his neck, pulling it out at an angle that slices down through his shoulder blade. He falls to a pile of ash that blows onto my shoes. Bernie Kosar pounces on the other Mog and quickly has his tongue coated in thick ash. "We have to get back to the car and get out of here," Six says. "There must be more on their way. They were waiting for us." "We have to get my chest first," I say. "Then we're going to have to split up," Six says. With her soot-covered sword, she points at the 2 sections of forest the Mogs disappeared into. "Bernie Kosar, you're with me." Bernie Kosar shrinks into a hawk, and he and Six head left. Sam and I enter the forest in the other direction. Soon we hear twigs cracking. and we run in that direction. I speed ahead and hurdle a series of dead trees to see 4 Mogs trying to escape through a small clearing. In the moonlight, I still can't see if any of them hold my chest. I slide down the hill on my side, crushing saplings, creating a small landslide of loose rock. I hear Sam crashing after me. They're halfway through the small clearing. It's dense, with grass 6 feet tall, and I run through it at full speed. Sam yells for me to tell him what direction I'm headed in, but instead I keep running and aim my lit palm straight into the sky as a beacon. "Okay, got it!" he yells. Finally, right before the clearing becomes forest again, I can almost reach one. I dive for his legs and slice through the bottom of his muddy khakis and sever his Achilles tendon, causing him to roar onto his back. I climb up his flailing body and stab him in the chest, killing him. Sam trips over my legs and falls on his face. "You get it? No, come on!" Using one hand as a flashlight and the other as a machete, I race through the forest with ease, not caring how close Sam stays behind me. In less than a minute, I see another Mog struggling over a fallen log. From 25 yards away, I lift the log high off the ground, tip it, and force the Mog to teeter and fall head first. I crash through weeds and find him motionless on his stomach. I can already tell he doesn't have my chest. I kill him with 2 stabs of my dagger. "John!" Sam yells in the darkness. "Dude!" I again shine my palm in the air, and I'm scanning the trees when Sam arrives. "Tell me you got it." "Not yet," I say. "No chest?" Sam mutters. "I just hope 6 has better luck." I reach behind me and pull the white tablet out to show Sam. "But I do have this." He grabs it out of my hand. "From the well?" "That's not all we found. Wait until I tell you about what else." I suddenly recognize where we are. I stop walking. I even stop breathing. Sam grabs my shoulder and says, "Whoa, dude. What's going on? You feeling something? Like maybe somebody just opened your chest?" As far as I can tell, my chest hasn't been opened. The feeling brewing inside me is something entirely different. We're near Sarah's house. Chapter 22. After the door at the bottom of the tower creaks open, I hear footsteps. I hear echoed breathing. Whoever it is, it'll be impossible to hide a drugged Adelina, a cat, and a chest stuffed with alien weapons and artifacts. I slowly set the branch back into the chest and close the lid. Legacy creeps to the edge of the belfry floor and then sits and stares down into the darkness. We're all silent, but then Adelina rolls out a long, droning snore. The footsteps in the circular stairway speed up. I give Adelina a few shakes to wake her up. She falls onto her side. "What do I do?" I mouth to Legacy. The cat jumps on top of the chest and then jumps back off again, only to purr around my feet. It isn't an answer, but it does give me an idea. I lean down and set Legacy on top of the chest and then scramble up into one of the 2 windows where the cool air penetrates my pajamas and instantly causes my teeth to chatter. The footsteps are getting closer. With my mind, I raise the chest high in the air and Legacy's claws scrape at the lid for a safe footing. I have to duck as I float the chest up and over me and out the window. Immediately, after I set the chest quietly on the frosty lawn 10 stories down, Legacy jumps off and runs into the darkness. I then float Adelina up and over me, her nightgown brushing the top of my head, and carefully I set her down next to the chest. The footsteps are loud now. I swing my legs over the edge of the window. Using whatever concentration I can still muster, I'm able to levitate myself a few centimeters above the cold stone. I push out into the swirling wind. Before I lower myself away from the tower, I see the mustached Mogadorian from the cafe round the last turn of the stairway and stomp into the belfry. My concentration buckles and then snaps into a million little pieces. I go into a wild freefall until the last moment when I press my hands in front of my chest and set my mind on floating like a feather. My right knee lands a hair from Adelina's shivering body. I panic. I either have to try to get the chest and Adelina down into the village for hiding, but it is in the middle of the night and we are in our night clothes, and I can only see a few lonely windows lit in town, or I have to quickly find a place to hide us within the orphanage. It will take the Mogadorian less time to descend the tower than it did for him to race up it, but he still has a long hallway to travel and another flight of stairs to run down to make it to the first floor. I stick my head through the double doors, and once I see the coast is clear, I drape Adelina over the chest and float them into the nave. My strength is waning immensely, but I'm somehow able to summon just enough power to get the chest, Adelina, and me tucked away up into the farthest recess of the drafty, cold, and damp nook where the chest had originally been hidden. I'm beginning to think I led the Mogadorian right to me by opening the chest. Perhaps the red pulse of the crystal I dropped is some kind of transmitter. Adelina will know what it is, what to do. To combat the fear that an evil alien race is coming directly for me, to somehow apologize to Adelina for drugging her, and to gather a little warmth, I rest my hand on Adelina's chest and wrap my arms around her waist. Hours later, I hear Adelina grunt and shuffle her legs underneath mine. "Adelina," I whisper, "are you awake?" "Who is that? Marina?" I whisper. "Adelina, you have to be really, really quiet." "Why?" she whispers. "And where are we?" "We're in the nave where you hid the chest. But please listen to me. They're here. The Mogadorians came for me last night after I opened the chest, and I had to hide us." "How did you open the chest by yourself? It doesn't work that way." "You told me how to do it. You were sleep-talking." I lie. I could tell her I drugged her, but I'm not ready for that argument. Her confusion is evident in her voice. "I don't remember. I remember getting out of bed, and then I guess that's about it." "You opened up the chest? What was inside?" "A lot of things, Adelina, so much. There are all these stones and all these jewels, and one of them lit up in my hand and started flashing, and I think that's why the Mogadorian showed up." "What Mogadorian? What happened?" Adelina tries to sit up, but I stop her before she hits her head on the low ceiling. I whisper, "I saw a man in the cafe a few days ago who had a book about Pittacus, and he kept staring at me. He had this hat on and this big mustache, and I could just tell he was from Mogador. And then last night, after I opened the chest in the North Belfry, he showed up." "How did we escape?" "I used my telekinesis to float us out the window and into the yard, and then I used it to get us up here." "We have to get out of here," she whispers. "We have to leave Santa Teresa immediately." My excitement is immediate. I hug her in the dark, and to my surprise, she hugs me back. Adelina crawls to the lip of the nook, and I follow her with the chest hovering behind me. When the nave appears empty, Adelina asks me to lower her to the floor. Then I carefully drop the chest over the lip and set it silently next to Adelina's bare feet. I'm about to levitate down when Sister Dora appears at the back of the nave and marches towards Adelina. "Where have you been?" she barks. "You left your post all night. How could you do such a thing? And what is this luggage doing in here?" "I had to get some fresh air, Sister Dora," Adelina says softly. "I'm sorry I left my post." I can see Sister Dora's eyes narrow. "With Marina?" "What?" "I had 4 girls wake me up in the middle of the night saying that Marina snuck out last night and that you left with her." Adelina starts to speak, but Ella suddenly appears behind Sister Dora and tugs on her dress. "Sister Dora, I just saw Marina," she lies. "Where?" "In the bedroom, sleeping." Sister Dora bends down and snatches Ella by the arm, and the terrified look on Ella's face causes something to shift inside me. "You're a little liar. I just came from the sleeping quarters and no one is in there. You're making up excuses for her." "Sister Dora, that's enough," Adelina says. But Sister Dora begins dragging Ella away so forcefully that her feet hardly touch the ground. "We're going up to the office, and you're going to learn that you don't lie here." Tears stream down Ella's cheeks. From the nook's opening, I stare at Sister Dora's hand and pry her fingers away from Ella's bicep. Sister Dora yells in pain, and then peers down at Ella with surprise and confusion. She grabs Ella again. Adelina jogs over to them, and before I can send Sister Dora all the way down the main aisle on her back, Adelina grabs her wrist. Sister Dora rips her arm away. My heart jumps into my throat with Adelina's newfound alliance to me and my friend. "Don't you ever touch me again," Sister Dora challenges her. "You don't even belong here, Adelina, and neither does that juvenile demon you brought with you." Adelina smiles calmly. "You're right, Sister Dora. Perhaps Marina and I don't belong here, and perhaps we will leave this very morning. But would you please be so kind as to let go of Ella first?" Her voice, while cordial and patient, contains a hint of venom. "How dare you?" Sister Dora scoffs. "Why, you're no more than an orphan yourself. We took you in when no one else wanted you." "We're all the same in the Lord's eyes. Surely you acknowledge as much." Sister Dora moves to take another step, but Adelina grabs her. The two women stare into each other's eyes. "I will be talking about this with Sister Lucia. You will be thrown out of here so fast you won't have a chance to pray for forgiveness." "I already said I'd be leaving this morning, and I will always have the chance to pray for forgiveness." Adelina reaches her hand out to Ella, and she takes it. Sister Dora hesitates before reluctantly letting go of Ella's arm. I'll not only pray that Marina forgives me for being such a terrible guardian, but I'll also pray that God forgives you for forgetting your purpose here. They continue to stare into each other's eyes for a few more seconds before Sister Dora pivots and huffs out of the nave. Once she's out of sight and Ella has her back to me, I float to the ground. "Hi, Ella," I say. "Marina!" She lets go of Adelina's hand, runs, and hugs me. "Where were you?" "Adelina and I had to talk alone," I say, pulling away from her. I look up at Adelina. "We had to talk about our future." Adelina squints, then looks down at her dirty nightgown and becomes embarrassed. "Marina, go pack your things and put the chest somewhere safe. We're leaving very soon." When Adelina walks away, Ella grabs my hand and squeezes it. "The bad men were here last night, Marina." "I know. I saw him. That's why we're leaving." As soon as I say it, I know I will ask Adelina if we can take Ella with us. "I saw all 3 of them," Ella whispers. I gasp. "There's 3 of them?" "They were at the window last night, looking at your bed." A shiver runs up my spine. I float the chest back up into the nook and run to the sleeping quarters, dodging huddles of girls in the hallway whispering to each other about something that happened in the village. "They were right here," she says, pointing at the window. 3 of them. You're sure?" She nods her head. "Yes, and they saw me at the window watching them. Then they ran away." "What did they look like?" I ask. "They were tall and had really long hair, and their jackets were almost to their shoes," she says. "With mustaches, right? They had mustaches?" "I don't think so. I don't remember mustaches," she says. I'm confused, but I know I don't have much time before Adelina shows up with a bag of the belongings she's collected over the past 11 years. I'm about to race into the shower when Anna Lee, another girl, stops me in my tracks. "School is canceled today. That girl, Miranda Marquez, was found strangled inside the school this morning." I sit down on my bed, shocked. Miranda Marquez is a dark-haired girl who lives in the village and sits beside me in Spanish history class. Our teacher, Maestra Munoz, often confuses us for each other because Miranda is skinny and tall like me, and her hair is the same length as mine. It takes me a second to realize that whoever killed Miranda might have mistaken her for me. Someone might have tried to kill me last night. This is bad," I whisper. Annalie says, "Plus, I heard one of the sisters say that some villagers saw people flying through the air last night, and now there are all these news vans out there doing a report on it." This is all happening so fast. The Mogadorians have found me. They found my cave. I was being reckless with my legacies, and witnesses saw me and Adelina leave the belfry window. A girl from my school might be dead because of me, and Adelina and I are leaving the orphanage in the middle of winter without a place to stay. I take the fastest hot shower of my life and wait for Adelina. Okay, so that was the end of chapter 22. I told you it was going to start to get really good. The next chapter is going to pick back up with Sam, Six, and John. But that's going to be it for this video. Like I said, I hope you're really enjoying these. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, that's Reading by Reed for now. Until next time, bye!